Alright, let's look at the homework 1.2, problem number 5. Alright, so we want to find the formula for the following functions. Alright, so it's a quadratic functions. Let's do that. Alright, so for f of x, right, so it looks like there's a vertex right here. Here's a vertex right there. So we know that the vertex is at x equals 7, and since it's on the x-axis, corresponding y value would be 0. Alright, then we have to go through 8, 2. Remember that the 8 is the x value, and 2 is the y value. Alright, so using the vertex form, we know that the equation, a function f of x should be, right, you might have a number, so a, so which we don't know yet, but it's going to be x minus, right, x coordinate of the vertex, so in this case 7 squared, and plus y coordinate, which is going to be 0, so it doesn't really do anything. Alright, so I can probably just scratch that out. So I'm gonna just erase it. So I'm gonna just erase this guy. Alright, then what happens is, since we know that we have to go through the point 8, 2, so when you plug in x equals 2, y equals 2, x equals 8, y equals 2, the equation has to hold. So here, so f of 8, so f, oops, I want blue one, f of 8 is equal to, so if you plug in 8 here, so it's a, then you have 8 minus 7 squared, which is going to be 1 squared, so it's going to be actually a, right, and which is supposed to be equal to 2. So a is 2, so therefore we know the formula, it's going to be 2 times quantity x minus 7 squared. Right, so let's type it in. Alright, so f of x, we found that it's a 2 times x minus 7 squared. Alright, so let's look at g of x. Alright, so for g of x, we're going to use a slightly different strategy. Let's use g of x is equal to, use the standard form. So it's going to be ax squared plus bx plus c. Alright, so you know that since it's going to go through 0, 1, so which means that the g of 0, right, which means that let's see, if you plug in 0, so ax 0 squared would be 0, b times 0 is 0, so you're just going to get c, right, so this is equal to 1. Right, because it's 0, 1. So we already know that c is going to be equal to 1. Right. Then we have 2 other points, so we're going to do the same thing. So it's we have a negative 2, 2. So we have g of negative 2. Right. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right. So we have a negative 2 squared would be 4. So 4a plus, actually, b times negative 2 would be 2b. And since we already know that the c is 1, so I'm going to plug it in 1, right? And this is supposed to be equal to 2, right? So we got an equation. And let's use this point right here, right? So when x equals 1, so g of 1 is going to be, right, a1 squared would be just a, and b times 1 would be just b, right? Then plus c is 1, and this is supposed to be equal to negative 2.5, right? So what we can do is this. I'm gonna take this equation right here, right there. Alright, I'm gonna subtract 1 so that this 1 is gonna be gone. So you have 4a minus 2b is equal to 1. Right? Then I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna subtract 1. So you have a. So actually, I'm gonna go here. A plus b is equal to negative 3.5. Right? Then since I want to get rid of either a or b, so I'm going to multiply through by 2. So you have a 2a plus 2b is equal to negative 7. Right? And then we can just add them together. So if you add them up, you get 4a plus 2a is 6a. And a negative 2b plus positive 2b cancel out. And 1 plus negative 7 is negative 6. Right? So we can actually just divide through by 6 so that the a is going to be equal to negative 1. Right? Then we can just plug a equals negative 1. So we have this guy. And you can just plug it into probably this equation right here. So I plug it in here. So it's negative 1 plus b is equal to negative 3.5. So we can just add 1 to find the b value. So b is going to be equal to negative 2.5. Alright, so we found the b value. Right? So the equation is going to be g of x is equal to, right, a is negative 1, so negative x squared, right, b is negative 2.5x, and the c is 1 plus 1, right? So let's type it in. Alright, so we're gonna type in, right here, right? We found that to be negative x squared minus 2.5x plus 1. Alright, so let's go down and submit for testing. Alright, it came back and it looks like we got this one correctly. Alright, that's it. I hope that this was clear.